1953, U.S. President Harry Truman passed the reins of power to his successor, President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Truman also gave Eisenhower a pretty hefty file concerning a top-secret project called Majestic 12 that Truman established by classified executive order. Majestic 12, also known as Magic 12 and MJ-12 for short, is a code name for a secret committee of scientists, military leaders, and government officials formed in 1947 to facilitate the recovery and investigation of alien spacecraft. They were also founded to work together to understand and communicate with UFOs and extraterrestrials. Majestic 12 leaked secret government documents were first circulated by ufologists and made known to the public in 1984. Having received the Majestic 12 documents, President Eisenhower was extremely interested in UFOs and ETs. There is evidence that he met with ETs secretly, in fact, at least 3 times, once at Edwards Air Force Base in California and twice at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. Since the Eisenhower meetings, other instances of UFO landings at or near Holloman Air Force Base have been reported. But what evidence do we have of Eisenhower's meetings? And what did Eisenhower discuss with the aliens? Let's try and find out.
Hello, I'm Mike Droberg, a Marine Corps veteran and filmmaker, and we will try to answer these questions on today's episode of Forgotten History.
President Eisenhower, a former 5-star Army general, always had a strong belief in life on other planets, and in February of 1944, he was spending several days in Palm Springs on a golfing vacation. However, he disappeared for several hours one Saturday afternoon and even missed a scheduled public dinner. He was not seen again until late the following morning. So where did he go? The press questioned Ike's whereabouts, so the White House press secretary told them that Ike had chipped a tooth and had gone to see a dentist. Even at that time, rumors were that he was visiting ETs at nearby Edwards Air Force Base. The dentist's story falls apart upon close inspection. Washington Post staff writer Peter Carlson denies the story of the chipped tooth and calls it a cover-up. The Eisenhower Presidential Library has detailed reports of all of Eisenhower's medical and dental records. There is no reference to a broken or chipped tooth or a dentist visit related to the Palm Springs visit. The library also has copies of acknowledgments that were sent to everyone Eisenhower had contact with while in Palm Springs. There were records of people who he met on the airplane, people who sent flowers, the minister who gave the sermon at that Sunday service he attended, and others who played minor roles. But there is no proof of a note sent to a dentist. Years later, the dentist's widow said she had no recollection of ever being told by her husband that he had done dental work on the president. William Cooper, a member of the Naval Intelligence Briefing Team with access to classified documents, is considered a credible witness. His review of these documents revealed that extraterrestrials had made contact with Earth. The aliens warned Ike that the planet was on the path of self-destruction and expressed a desire to meet to help establish a lasting peace, which takes us to Ike's first encounter. The first meeting with the aliens and Eisenhower occurred at Edwards Air Force Base in February 1954. Navy Commander Charles L. Suggs reported that his father had attended the meeting between Ike and the ETs. Eisenhower met with 2 Nordic-appearing, blue-eyed ETs. A third one stood near the door as a lookout. Nordic alien is the name given to the humanoid extraterrestrials purported to have come from the Pleiades star system or resemble Nordic Scandinavians. They are further described as being 6 to 7 feet tall, with long blonde hair and fair skin. The discussions between Ike and the Nordic aliens were polite. Eisenhower sought to negotiate a treaty with the aliens, but was unwilling to comply with their demand to cease nuclear weapon testing. As a result, the aliens departed without a treaty in place. However, they returned the following year to Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico for another meeting with Eisenhower. And there is a corroborating story to the ET meeting with Ike at Edwards Air Force Base. A man named Gerald Light wrote a letter in April 1954, claiming to have been an eyewitness to the Edwards Air Force Base meeting between Eisenhower and the ETs. Light provided details such as watching Air Force officials studying 5 aircraft with the permission of their alien owners. However, some questioned the credibility of Light's report, since he was known to have a love of the occult and claimed to be a clairvoyant, but others, like Meade Lane, the former director of Borderland Sciences Research Foundation, confirms and believes Light did know firsthand of what occurred. There were several eyewitness reports of the second meeting between Ike and the ETs at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, which is only about 120 miles from the well-known Roswell incident, and the reports are more detailed than the ones provided for the Edwards Air Force Base meeting by Light. In February of 1955, approximately 300 people saw Air Force One land at Holloman Air Force Base and taxi back out to the end of the runway. Shortly after the plane landed, the pilot instructed the tower to turn off all radar while the president's plane was on the tarmac. Soon after Air Force One landed, the radar was turned off, and 3 round discs were seen in the sky. One landed about 200 feet in front of Air Force One, another hovered over the area as though keeping watch, and the third one disappeared from visibility. Eisenhower descended from the steps of Air Force One and was seen shaking hands with a being at the door of the saucer, and then entered the unusual saucer-shaped aircraft. Ike was in the saucer for about 45 minutes. In 2012, Timothy Good, a respected author and former Pentagon consultant, publicly discussed Eisenhower's meeting with the extraterrestrials. Good elaborated on the purpose of these encounters, noting that these extraterrestrials, like many others, seemed to sought peace. They aimed to negotiate a positive resolution for Earth's problems, emphasizing the need for the U.S. to cease nuclear weapons testing. Initially, they wanted the public to be informed of their existence. However, in the final treaty, they appear to have changed their stance, opting to remain secret. Ultimately, Eisenhower signed a treaty with an alien race called the Greys. The terms of the treaty are reported to have been as follows: we would not be involved in their affairs, and they would not become involved in ours. They would help us with the developing of our technology. They would not make a treaty with any other nations on Earth. They could abduct humans for various experiments, but had to provide names of all those they abducted to the Majestic 12 Committee and return them unharmed. The public would not be informed about the existence of the Greys. In 1964, 3 UFOs flew into the airspace at Holloman Air Force Base. They were tracked on radar and actually captured on film. One seemed to wobble and eventually landed at the Air Force Base. 3 humanoids with blue-gray complexions, dressed in tight-fitting flight suits, were met by the Air Force Base commander and 4 other officers. The aliens stayed for several days as their aircraft was purportedly repaired. What was discussed in the meetings is still a mystery. It is also still a mystery as to why so many people could have been involved in the meetings, and to date, so few people have broke their silence. Through the years, there have been more reports of UFO landings at Holloman Air Force Base. Documentaries have mentioned Holloman Air Force Base as the site of a plethora of alien landings. One of the most famous documentaries was narrated by the legendary Rod Serling, UFOs, Past, Present, and Future. It was produced in 1974. It had a segment on UFO landings at Holloman Air Force Base in the 1955 meeting with Eisenhower. A later documentary, released in 1976, UFOs, It Has Begun, also referenced Holloman Air Force Base and the landings that have occurred there. There have been numerous documentaries ever since. In December of 2023, Congress passed legislation that directs the government to eventually tell the public at least some of what it knows about UFOs, but stops short of more aggressive steps. Lawmakers sought to force greater transparency around UFOs and extraterrestrial activity. The measure, which was tucked into the annual defense policy bill that won the final approval with bipartisan vote, directs the National Archives to collect government documents about unidentified anomalous phenomena, technologies of unknown origin, and non-human intelligence. Under the provision, which President Biden is expected to sign into law, any records not already officially disclosed must be made public within 25 years of their creation, unless the President determines that they must remain classified for national security reasons. Lawmakers in both chambers have ratcheted up efforts to increase government transparency surrounding UFOs and extraterrestrial matters as conspiracy theories proliferate and suspicions persist that the government is concealing information from the public. Congress has reason to believe that the executive branch has concealed information about UFOs that should be made public. The Pentagon has begun stepping up the number of explanations it provides for recent videos showing unidentified phenomena, suggesting that the pressure from Congress for greater transparency has had some early results. So what are your thoughts on President Eisenhower's alleged meetings with extraterrestrials? Let us know in the comments below.
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments or show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.